Good afternoon, fellow Plexers. This is going to be a fun video for me and a cold video. So in the Plexaholics group, someone was asking if there's a way to find out if their media is a certain resolution. And someone suggested to sort the library that way. And I showed how with a screenshot. And then I also posted a screenshot of how my Filebot video adds media characteristics to the file name of movies or episodes and invited the person to learn more if they'd like to, and that person and someone else said they would. Meanwhile, Wesley chimed in with his own custom expression, and it's a long-ass expression, and I'm dying to play with it. So, this is his expression. This is my expression. Actually, this is an example of subtitles I've got ready. So let's do that first. So this little bit at the end of the expression handles external SRT subtitles, but they need to be prepped. So if you've got 3 English subtitles that are named something like this, the largest one is often the hearing impaired one, the SDH subtitle. If there's a tiny one, it's generally a forced subtitle. And the other large one that's not quite as big as the largest is the default one. So if you flag them with a .force.srt or a .sdh for those 2 types, Filebot will then know what to do with it. At least my expression will. If they're named like this, Filebot won't know what to do with it, and it'll just pick one. Well, it'll tell you have duplicate files being renamed, and you get to pick which one you want to be a plain English subtitle. So again, let's say sub1.srt is very tiny. Just give it this flag, forced dot. So it'd be .forced.srt. The one that's big but not the largest is the default subtitle. They're just text files. You can open it up and look for anything that would give you evidence it's a hearing impaired, like the larger one would have. So you'd flag this SDH. And at that point, my Filebot expression, due to this little addition, will just take care of it. So if you have your own Filebot expression, but you don't know this little subtitle trick, just add that to the end of it. So let's talk about my expression. It creates the name, the year, and it adds in the TMDB ID number for the folder. The actual movie file name is the same process. Now, technically, you don't need the TMDB ID number in the file name itself. It just needs to be in the folder, but I put it in the file name. Now, this was a tip through someone in the Plexaholics group to look for common addition tags. It won't find uncommon addition tags. For example, I use this tag on my own server. When I have a colorized version of a movie and the regular version. If I ran that through Filebot, well, I'd run it through Filebot and then manually add this addition tag. If I ran it through my Filebot expression again, I lose that manual tag. So this is something I'm excited about trying also. So then I use the typical space dash space as a separator, and we'll talk about that later, before then putting in brackets the video format, video codec, audio format, audio codec, and then the developer of Filebot helped come up with this at my request. This last bit checks inside the media container file, and it looks for embedded English or embedded undescribed subtitles. I don't care about other subtitles, but when I grab something, I want to know maybe a whole series if there's English subtitles. So I can run it through Filebot and it will add in brackets either English sub or occasionally UND sub if they're not flagged properly. And those flags can be fixed in MKV Toolnix easily. All right, excuse me just for a second. Let me pause you. So this can be deconstructed. If you don't care about the embedded subtitles, just remove this section. You really do want to be renaming external subtitles correctly. If you don't care about addition tags, remove that section. But I think it's really nice to know what type of media you have. So I would leave that. So let's go to an example. I have some test media locally on this Linux computer in this public domain folder structure. I use the same public domain media for all my test servers. And I've copied just the movie libraries to this test folder. And if we go in, you'll see how my files are named. So 2160p would be 4K, 4320p would be 8K. Here's an addition tag. This will not survive my Filebot. This was manually added to denote that this is an AV1 encoded file. But my expression picks that up here. I wanted to give a tag to it for when Plex scanned it in. So now let's look at Wesley's long expression. So he's getting addition tags differently. He's got all these different tags listed, criterion collection, and I was excited to see colorize because I'd love for my manually added colorize tags to stay. And of course I saw that when I scanned through here, and now I can't find it while I'm trying to think of what to say. Oh, there it is. But I'm not enough of a Filebot expert to know if this is being checked in the folder or the file name structure. So that's what we're going to look at. I think I'm going to use colorized and IMAX edition. So let me just cut that, or let's say copy it. And we'll go to my folder structure. So let's go into this test library, because I have a few different versions of Big Buck Bunny. So let's test this out. Let's just let's throw that in there. And for this one, well, you can tell that I did a trial run because of this naming structure. I was interrupted by a phone call and had to run out, so I ditched my video I was doing originally. So let's try this one. Colorized. And then let's do this. Instead of in the file name, let's add colorized to this. And let's add IMAX to that. Okay, so let's back up. We close Filebot. And let's get his expression in. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring this text document back up. And I'll highlight everything. Control-C to copy. And let's open this folder up in Filebot. So let's make that full screen. If I click down here where it says presets, you'll see my custom presets. Now Filebot has some of their own presets, but once you add a custom one, you have to hold down the shift key to see them. Filebot has organized movies for Plex and organized episodes for Plex, and it sources the naming from TMDB for both. I source movie names from TMDB and TV shows from TVDB. I may have just said that wrong. Movies from TMDB, the movie database, episodes from the TV database. Filebot does both from TMDB, and I think that's less flexible for episodes. But we won't talk about that right now. So let's edit the preset, add a new one, and let's call this Wesley's Expression. Hit OK. I can paste it in. And we have to change the data source from the movie database TV. You see how it's looking for episode order and that kind of stuff? So let's just pick the plain movie database, which is for movies, and save the preset. So if I use my default movie, it's going to fix these two that I manually renamed. And it's not going to do anything with the edition names I put into them in the incorrect way. And this one is going to lose. No, IMAX must be an edition that mine will look for, because my expression shows it here. It's grabbing this from the file name and it's adding this. So my lost the word. My edition tag will look for that. I didn't know IMAX was included. I thought it was more simpler things like remastered, director's cut, unrated, that sort of stuff. So let's do Wesley's Expression. So his is naming in place just like mine do. I neglected to mention that Filebot's two expressions will move everything to a folder named Media, capital M, lowercase EDIA, and then it will create a movie folder named Movie with a capital M and TV shows to sort things into. So this is not useful if you're renaming media on a NAS from a local computer, because Filebot won't have the permission to create a shared folder named Media. So it looks like Wesley's Expression, just like mine, will rename in place. All right, so let's look for, it's carrying forth this remastered edition that was in the original file name. And it's carrying forth this colorized edition. And it's just added to the file name here. This IMAX edition is just added to the file name. It's not proper. And it's not picking that up. And I think I know why. Let's take a look at his expression again. IMAX edition. I thought maybe I spelled it wrong. All right, let's ditch Filebot. No, I didn't spell it wrong. And what other movie did we play with? Maybe the plain IMAX wasn't working there. Let's do IMAX Edition in the folder name. Let's open all this back up in Filebot. We'll use his expression again. All right, so colorized in IMAX Edition. It's picking up the colorized, but it's not picking up the IMAX Edition, and I don't know why. So then in the folder of Lady Frankenstein, we have IMAX Edition, and it's not picking that up. What was our other folder change? Blue Steel. So it's not picking up colorized when it's added to the folder. Interesting. So we have a failure with the IMAX, but not the colorized when it's in the file name, and then a failure with both when it's in the folder name. Let's do this. I can't rename any movie with a default expression if it has more than one item in it. So let's take these single items. That's 2. Some of these might have a subtitle. That's a subtitle for the second file. Those are subtitles. Subtitles. All right, so let's grab all of these, open it with Filebot, and let's just go in and do the default binding here. I'll click match. I'll skip episode mode and go to movie mode, and I'll pick the movie database. And this is a bug with Filebot I've got to fix, so let me edit the format. Sometimes this happens where I just need to find the movie expression. I've only had this happen with TV shows in Filebot. Well, I'll let it rename it wrong. All right, so we have 2. We're just going to say skip. It'll do what it wants to do. All right, so those are not Plex compliant names. Let me get rid of all of this. All right, let's bring this back up. Let's test some of these. Let's test that. Let's use another period like a lot of scene release files are named. Not good for Plex, but that's how the scene release does it. All right, so there's 3 ones on this line: extended edition, extended version, and extended. So let's pick something from the middle choice. And actually, let's see what happens. Let's throw a curveball. Let's make that lowercase. Okay, let's do the Criterion collection. Now let's throw another curveball. Let's only put that for the movie name and not the Filebot. And let's make this like a scene release where it might be lowercase. Okay, let's do something unique. Let's do fan edit. Only for the movie. And let's leave that uppercase. See if it makes any difference. And we'll put a period in between the two words. All right, what else can we do here? Let's do enhanced edition. Let's leave that with the space there. Let's also do the subtitle. Let's take that period out so they match. Okay, now let's see what happens. So every movie of these has a change applied to it. Let's see what my custom expression does. So it picks up the extended edition, does not pick up the dubbed or the Criterion one or the fan edit or the enhanced. It only picks up the extended edition. Let's try Wesley's expression. So extended, dubbed, does not pick up the pot of gold change or the royal wedding or the brain that wouldn't die. Criterion collection, fan edit, the brain that wouldn't die. Now I thought it would pick that one up. Let's ditch this and we'll change this to more like it is in his expression. And we'll do the same thing for royal wedding. Let's see what happens now. Still nothing for royal wedding or the brain that wouldn't die. All right, Wesley, this is something for you to explain, my friend. If you can tell me what I'm doing wrong or maybe what needs to be adapted. But I'm telling you right now, I don't know how I'm going to do it. But I want to incorporate this ability to keep the colorized tags that I already have in a proper rename. Not that I'm likely to have to rename my media, but let's rename it as Wesley's expression would. So everything in here has been renamed. To me, it looks weird to see TMDB in uppercase. So I do see the resolution. That's nice. Visual. I wonder how my Filebot expression was naming that. So it kept the extended edition tag, and mine simply is 576p MPEG-4 2-channel MP3. This visual, I just don't know what that's supposed to represent. But it is 2-channel MP3. So that's interesting. And I see the expression, I'll have to see how he's doing it, is using the 2-letter code for the English language for a subtitle, where I'm using the 3-letter code. Or actually, Filebot's formula is using the 3-letter code, because that SUBT in curly braces came right from subtitle or from Filebot's website. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. It's not perfect, but I'm going to try to get that colorized thing into my edition or my expression for editions. So let's open this up with Filebot. And let's use my custom expressions to get things back to the way I'm used to it. So it's cool that it's carrying forth the IMAX. I didn't know that my group of edition names included IMAX until just now. Excuse me. My apologies. I had to take that call and I don't remember what I was saying, but I do know I wanted to bring in Sonarr, because you can do your own expressions in Sonarr also. So if we go into settings and we go to media management, this is my expression in Sonarr. So I will paste that in the description of this video in case anybody is looking for a similar expression. This right here, and Sonarr gives you an idea of how that's going to work. So you get the series title with a year. Actually, Sonarr is adding the TVDB ID for me. And it's not showing up in this estimate or this in this preview, and I don't know why. But if I go to a series and click into it, you'll see that the TVDB ID number is populating in the folder name, but not the episode names. And that's all Plex needs. So my Sonarr expression results in a file name very similar to my Filebot expression. Only I like my Filebot expression better because that tells me if embedded subtitles are not labeled as English. And to be honest with you, once a series completes, when I remove it from Sonarr, I rename it with Filebot. I'm just kind of anal that way. So Wesley, I appreciate seeing your expressions. I don't know why some of them worked and some did not work. That's interesting. If you could explain that for me, I'd love to figure that out. And for everybody else, happy Plexing, and see you next time.